When we first talked about the beer lineup at Rock Bottom, we talked about the desire to create a great spectrum of flavors for our guests to enjoy. And so here we are on the darker end of that spectrum in terms of the color of the beer. Now, as we taste this beer, we'll talk about whether or not it lands on the high side of the spectrum in terms of flavor intensity and all these other things we want to measure and assess while we're tasting a beer. This is a stout. As we can see, it's very dark in color. It's nearly opaque, but it's not really. When I kind of slant it a little bit or get it with the right light behind it, I see a little bit brown to red color in there, nice and deep, great color. I give it my customary little swirl. Go for some aroma. And man, those roasted flavors and aromas just come flying out at you. I get some stone fruit, some prunes, some raisins. Very complex beer. I can sense a sweetness in there as well. The bitterness is not burnt or acrid. It's more of a roasted and round character, which smells very appealing to me. And when I take a sip of it, I get a surprisingly medium to light body beer. So I don't think that there's a lot of alcohol in this beer, and as a matter of fact, there's not. Those roasted flavors are popping off my tongue. Again, not bitter, burnt, or acrid, but a nice roasty character, and those roasted flavors are coming from this beer. I do get some nice supporting sweetness out of it as well, without it coating my tongue and feeling very cloying and sticky, which I really do like. And so this is a great time to talk about how deceiving a beer can be. Many people think that a dark beer like this is loaded with alcohol, loaded with calories, is a super flavorful, big, bursting sensory experience. And really, this has a lot of flavor to it, but it doesn't have a large body. It's got a nice, drinkable, I could have a couple of these beers. It's below 5% alcohol, and some people equate that alcohol content with the darkness of the beer, and that's a great myth for us to break when we're teaching people about beer. The malts that go into this beer, well, it's more, certainly, but primarily in this beer, we're going to see mostly some of our good old base malt, you know, the white flour of beer. We're going to see some of this black malt in there, probably a handful of this caramel malt to help build that malt body as it goes through, but keeping it fairly light of flavor without being too big for the palate. As other stouts might have a whole bunch of malt in them. They might have some, have some oats, a little bit more caramel malts. And when we're building up big imperial stouts, that's the case. But on this wonderful, tasty, relatively light stout, it's got a lot of good flavors. And a great hint on this, and a great way to turn on your guests to something they may not already have thought about trying, is to bring them a sample of this with their chocolate dessert or any dessert, because many people favor coffee with their desserts, and if we can give them a little bit of a substitute or give them an aha moment with a taster of stout, I think we can really turn some people on to an end of the spectrum of beer that perhaps they hadn't been interested in the past.